Vice Provost, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to introduce our UCL alumni speaker, Mr. Channa Daswatte.
Good evening. I feel very privileged to be here today, and I must thank the Provost, Professor Michael Arthur, for the kind invitation he made to address you, ladies and gentlemen. And not least because I've got the great privilege of wearing these rather grand cloaks, which I never got the privilege of wearing. I didn't attend the graduation ceremony like you did. I came from Sri Lanka and went back rather quickly to start work. Gathered here in this beautiful garden as new graduates of University College, you are heir to a tremendous history. As the Provost mentioned, UCL has been the alma mater of many eminent persons, including Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore, who are at the forefront of intellectual and political change in my part of the world, where I have been in practice as an architect in Sri Lanka since I graduated from UCL in 1991. A Sri Lankan-born UCL alumnus, Ananda Kumaraswamy, in his essay that Beauty is a State, written way back in 1927, said, creative art is art that reveals beauty. While there is a long history to generating revelation, aesthetics is never resolute. Yet, as Kumaraswamy observed, if there was such a thing as beauty, it can only be revealed when those associations among individuals are linked through and by the objects we see and the very spaces we inhabit. Architecture and the built environment are thus artifacts of experience. Considering the universe of associations embodied in architecture, one can also imagine its politics. Making architecture is not merely about creating seductive images using grasshoppers and rhinos. Architecture is a tool with which we are able to subvert and transform the societies with which we identify ourselves. Understanding our engagement with these dialogues of form, of meaning, is as significant as the works we render on paper and screens, on sites, and in cities. When I first arrived in this town many years ago, I was an outsider, not a native. Was I a subject or an object? To apprehend London from a student's point of view was to confront multiple realities. That there was something beyond the corded facade, the rusty gate, the locked Edens such as this one, that possessed more than they disclosed. These were the fleeting reminders that as we share in the definition of urban space, so too do we recreate ourselves. The everyday itineraries I calculated to get to the Bartlett from Camden Town or Gray's Inn Road where I lived were as much as learning the fastest way to get to cheap dosa or to Sadler's Wells for a performance as they were a means to a beginning. My walks were evidentiary. So would you have defined your own version of this great city. On these walks, I also learned that architecture was no longer about putting places on a map, but it was about making a map. Today we hear that architecture is a global phenomenon that is indeed building a shadow map of the world. Was it not always? Long the connective tissue that spoke of power and the economies of desire, good design as rendered by architects, planners, and urban designers seek to effect change at multiple scales. There are no secret codes, only the manufacture of nano experiences. Not all of you will become architects with a capital A or even a Z. But what the education at the Bartlett has provided you is a foundation for thinking and reflecting on the state of the world as it is today, absorbing the past and how it may be in the future. My own education at the Bartlett, a diploma followed by an MSc with Professors Bill Hillier and Julian Hansen, revealed a way of thinking about architecture that has helped me hold my ground with many a difficult client. With architecture, there is an opportunity to generate new language, construct new meanings, and disengage temporalities. Like the universal dancing Shiva described by Kumaraswamy in his book, you as architects will see, create, and maybe even destroy. But at the core of making architecture is a fundamental responsibility towards the critical reception of our environment and a confident response to it. When we draw sections, we are not just making X-rays of buildings, we are revealing that which we cannot see but feel, sensed. We are erasing the misbegotten. Architects can see the unseen, unearth the hidden, and invent the unknown. With such power, all of you have the opportunity to inscribe our shared future history in a landscape of potential. When the Kandalama Hotel was built in central Sri Lanka 25 years ago, its architect, Geoffrey Bawa, not one of our alumni, he went to the school across the road from here, was laughed at for making an army barracks in the jungle. There were countless occasions when we who worked so closely with him were unconvinced. And perhaps he was too. But he understood that buildings are tremendously powerful things that come into their own long after we who make them depart. Kandalama was the first project where what I had learned at the Bartlett merged with my present. Now that the jungle and the monkeys have to be kept at bay as much as the busloads of tourists, I recall the moment when Bawa suggested that it would be 100 years from then, when the bears and leopards are walking the cliffside corridors, that the building be truly beautiful. Tonight, as all of us linger here for a while longer in this garden surrounded by a city, I'm curious what new natures or beauty each of you will ultimately reveal. One cannot unlearn architecture. And so I must ask, what will you leave behind? Thank you.